Good morning, Patrick, if I may call you Patrick.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Patrick. Thank you and welcome to our interview sessions. We appreciate you being here with us. Um, First, a brief overview of our association, then we will follow it with few ground rules, and then we'll go to our very first question, which will be posed by our president. For you to know, the Glendale Association of REALTORS was established in 1920 with fewer than 70 members. From that very beginning, our members have not just participated in the community, they've helped shaping it. Realtors have served with distinction across Glendale on the City Council, the Chamber of Commerce, planning commissions, school boards, and numerous civic bodies, earning recognition for leadership, service, and results. Giving back isn't an afterthought for us. It's part of our DNA. Year after year, Glendale Association of Realtors has supported local organizations and community initiatives. We have, over the past several decades, raised over $1.5 million actually, for causes such as Salvation Army and other vital community partners that serve the Glendale residents. So today, our membership, close to 1,500 professionals, we have approximately 1,200 registered voters in the city of Glendale. When you factor in our families, clients, and extended networks, our sphere of influence reaches deep into the Glendale electorate, representing thousands of engaged and informed voters. So this conversation we have with you today matters. Now, as far as the ground rules, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement and 2 minutes for closing remarks. Time permitting, you will be asked six questions, hopefully, and after your opening statement, we'll begin with your first question with our president, Drew Arapetian. I apologize. So, Patrick, your opening statement, please.
Well, first of all, good morning, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with all of you. Um, I enjoyed the questionnaire, the 15, I think it was, questions, 14 or 15. They were extremely thought-provoking and gave me an opportunity to express thoughts and also convey some of the knowledge that I've garnered over the last, let's call it 6 months of my studies with respect to the city. Things like the budget, things like the bicycle transportation plan, which I actually have been involved in the bicycle activities and planning for many years now. So I do appreciate the opportunity and also taking the time to complete the questionnaire. A little bit of my background. I am New York City born and raised. My dad was a police officer for 29 years, retired as a lieutenant. I'm the youngest of 9 children. Mom worked extremely hard to raise us, and both of them gave all of us a work ethic that has extended into our adult and senior lives. I appreciate the upbringing. We grew up in a home where public safety was paramount. And so I am very sensitive to the needs of the community. I am here to also give back. I am moving toward retirement after close to 41 years in the real estate industry, commercial activity, shopping center, redevelopment. My business was one of consulting, where I took distressed retail properties and turned them around, took empty Kmart's and split them up, et cetera, along those lines. I also developed preschools as well as some medical facilities.
All right.
My feeling is that people in Glendale are tired of being told what they need instead of being asked what they want. So my number one priority is to listen to the people, and garner support for projects garner support for policies prior to implementing policies, prior to even voting on policies. Get out there in the community and talk to the members of the housing associations. I was intimately involved in the St. Gregory's Town Hall regarding the Coro in the land use element. I worked with the Royal Canyon, Ross Moyne HOA boards, as well as the Montrose Shopping Park Association boards to put together that town hall where we had 200 people plus attend, and they expressed their views clearly to the council members as well as staff relative to that issue. So
Mr.
I
Murphy,
am
I appreciate, I do not want to take away from the opportunity
okay.
to ask the questions, if I may. I would like to ask our President, Dirk Garbatian, start the question that he has.
Got it. Good morning, Patrick. Thank you
Good
for being
morning.
here today. The question will be addressed in regards to revenue measures. To address Glendale's projected structural budget deficit, some have proposed placing various revenue measures before voters. Would you support placing any of the following measures on the ballot? And please explain your reasoning if you do. Parcel tax, real estate transfer tax, sales tax increase, or a vacancy tax on residential or commercial properties. Thank you.
The only tax that I would consider, and it has to go to the voters, is the retail sales tax. Um, and the reason I would move to that is because, from what I understand, and I've watched a couple of meetings, and I've also talked to Jack Liang, who is the director of finance, um, that the county, if we don't pursue a quarter point increase in tax, they are putting on the ballot a half point, and we would lose that quarter point control over to the county. I don't support any other taxes. The vacancy tax is a recipe for absolute disaster. And I know that Ms. Asatrian is in favor of that. She made that clear at a council meeting recently. The parcel tax, there was no information on that during that council meeting where they were considering these things. So I'm not a tax and spend person. I am a reduced spending person as pursuant to my background. So we didn't have a wealthy upbringing. Did
Thank
that?
you.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much. We appreciate that answer. Second question will be coming to you from our LGLR committee chair, Eddie Minassian. Eddie?
Good morning, Patrick. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you, Eddie. How are you?
Another day in paradise. All right. My question to you is the council district elections. Do you support or oppose transitioning Glendale from at-large election to district-based council elections, and why? And if you support districts, how many should Glendale have, and what criteria should guide the map? If you oppose districts, how would you address the city's CVRA exposure and potential litigation costs?
First of all, personally, I oppose districts. I believe that it diminishes the voice of the people. There have been two elections where the voters in Glendale have rejected districts in the past. The Charter Review Committee voted twice to reject the notion of districts and an elected mayor. The third time they were asked if we were to have districts, this is at a Charter Review Committee meeting, if we were to have districts, how would it look, what it would look like. And the Charter Review Committee at that meeting essentially said, and I was there for that one, essentially said, why are we doing this? We've already voted it down twice. So we're not going to vote, and we're not even going to deliberate on a hypothetical. So the voters have spoken. The Charter Review Committee has spoken 3 times. The voters have spoken 2 times. As regards the Voting Rights Act, that's a scare tactic. And I've looked into a little bit of that. That scare tactic has been diminished. We have a city that is extremely diverse. 50%, I believe, of the population was born outside of the United States. and is spread throughout the city. It's not like South Glendale has a different ethnicity than North Glendale. The economic demographic is different, but not necessarily the ethnicities. So I don't believe that Glendale has a risk related to the CVRA, and I would vigorously oppose or propose to oppose any suit that comes before us because our people have spoken twice, and our esteemed committee has spoken 3 times. So I'm a person to listen, and I've heard it loud and clear.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Our next question is going to be coming from our board member and a past president, Mr. Ovidian. Armen?
Good morning, Mr. Murphy.
Good morning.
First of all, appreciate you being here, and we really look forward to your answers, I guess. So let me start with this question. It is regarding housing types and developments, and you should be familiar with that with your background. In general, which type of housing developments do you believe Glendale should prioritize? Some of the examples would be large apartment buildings, mid-scale multifamily developments, approximately 8 to 16 units, ownership housing such as single-family homes, condominiums, and townhomes, and the last one, a balanced mix depending on location. You have the floor.
Thank you. The last one, a balanced mix, I think is critical for us. Our geography and the way our city is laid out and the way it has been built out requires a balanced mix. For example, high density multifamily residential in single family residential zoned areas is inappropriate in my opinion. And I don't know if we're going to get into a question regarding SB 79, which I believe is an existential threat to our city. But I believe a balanced mix. You know, when I was before I moved to California, I was young. This was over 40 years ago, and I looked at condominiums and cooperative buildings because in New York it was co-ops versus condominiums, and those are starter homes. And so it's important that we allow or we provide for families to stay in our city. GUSD is losing enrollment. Now, that may be a combination of private school enrollment shifting from public to private, but I believe it's also an indication that we are losing families leaving the city. The units that are being built, a lot of them are smaller. You have 700 square foot one bedrooms that are running $2,500 plus a month. You can't raise a family in that. So I believe that we need to have ownership housing. That's very critical because it provides the opportunity for people to place roots. Now, there's developer risk associated with building multifamily ownership housing. We have a lot of work to do in Sacramento. And not only from changing the makeup, in my view, which is a long-term issue, and that is to the supermajority has been there for a very long time and pressing mandates down on us. But I believe that the approach with Sacramento is to take a collaborative approach first. And so if we can pass legislation or amend legislation related to the liabilities associated with the development of ownership, multifamily ownership housing, I believe that we will see an influx of that type of development, and I believe that that is critical. Getting started as a young family, young families can't afford $1 million plus homes. We all know that. And so we need to be able to provide them with an opportunity to purchase. As far as apartments, yes, I believe that is very important, but the placement of those units are important, and buy-in from the community is critical in my view. Again, we need to listen to our people. I hope that answered your question.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. We appreciate that. The next question is going to come from our LGLR committee member, Kathy Lefkowitz.
Hello, Patrick.
Hi, Kathy.
I would like to ask if you support or oppose removing vehicle lanes to create lanes only in Glendale. And if you support lane reductions, what evidence do you have that voters agree? And if you oppose lane reductions, what alternative mobility or safety improvements do you propose?
The first question, when you said if I approve of the lane reduction, I missed one of those words in that
I'm
question.
sorry.
I apologize,
Do
Kathy.
you support or oppose removing vehicle lanes to
Right.
create bike-only lanes?
I am not opposed to protected bicycle lanes. However, putting them on commercial streets, commercial corridors, is a recipe for disaster. As we noticed, as we saw, the demonstration project on North Brand Boulevard was a dangerous experiment. There were more accidents. There were less bicycle riders because they were afraid to ride in the bicycle protected lanes because of the amount of commercial driveways and the parking that obstructed the view of the driver. And there was cut-through traffic on parallel streets. We saw videos of bicycle riders riding Brand Boulevard in the street versus the bicycle lane after the bicycle lanes were put in. The cut-through traffic is extremely dangerous because the people who are doing it are in a hurry and they're rushing down residential streets. And there are alternative streets. The bicycle transportation plan, if you've seen the map, there are over 90 miles of bicycle lanes proposed in that bicycle transportation plan. The large majority of them are protected. There is one street, well, they have protected lanes on Brand, they have protected lanes in this plan on Central, and they have protected lanes on Glendale Avenue. Let's take Glendale Avenue for just a moment. Glendale Avenue south of the freeway is pretty congested right now. There's probably a couple of million square feet of retail on that street. Plus, it leads to City Hall. The plan is to remove a traffic lane on that street and put in protected lanes. And one of the candidates, Alec Botrasov, who started Walk Bike Glendale, during a Sustainability Commission hearing in December of 23 or 24, I think it was 23, he said, I strongly insist that you put back in Glendale Avenue with protected lanes, even though the consultant and staff were recommending against it. The third highest category of revenue in our city, behind electricity revenue, behind property taxes, is sales tax revenue. Put a bicycle lane on Glendale Avenue, reducing that to one lane in each direction, and we're going to lose sales tax revenue. And they're not consulting with these retailers on that street. When they put that BTP before the city council, they didn't do a public outreach of all the retailers on that street. So it's wrong. They're not doing the public outreach that's necessary. Now, with the North Brand example, if you go 2 blocks east, there's a street, Louise. Louise runs from Mountain all the way down to Maple in South Glendale. It's a residential street. That's an alternative. Why not make it, here's just an idea, but why not make it one way? Keep the parking because those units, there's a lot of older unit buildings there that need the parking, and put in a protected bike lane or two. If I'm a parent with a young child or two that I'm living in an apartment there, and someone suggests to me, we're going to put in bicycle lanes, we are going to, in theory, reduce traffic by 50% because we're making it one way. As a parent, I'm very happy about that because now my children can ride safely and the traffic is reduced. And there's a lot of benefit to the reduction of traffic. And it's not going to be terrible. Pasadena does it. They have one way in each direction. And if you do it on Louise, there are two-way streets contiguous to it and parallel. So I am opposed to the removal of vehicle lanes on main commercial corridors. It is going to hurt us. And that's an inverse consequence that these policymakers don't realize, or maybe they do, and they just want the optics of difficult driving to get people out of their cars. There have been city council members, Mr. Brotman in particular, who has said specifically from the dais, we need to get people out of their cars.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks for the
thank you,
question.
Patrick. The next question is going to come to you from our board member, Pam Adami. Pam?
Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
This question has to do with publicly owned parking lots. Do you support or oppose developing publicly owned parking lots, such as Montrose or around the Civic Center, into mixed-use housing? And if you support this idea, how will you address parking displacement and protect small businesses?
Thank you. In the opening, I believe I talked about a little bit about this. I oppose it. Let me just say that. And the primary reason I oppose it is the Montrose Shopping Park Association and the 180 merchants up here oppose it. The Ross Moines people oppose it. The Royal Canyon people oppose it relative to the St. Gregory's Church parking lot and the Civic Auditorium. As I mentioned, and let me back up, when the land use element came before the public, it was December of 2024 is the first meeting I attended. It was a scoping meeting. And what the city was doing with the consultant and staff members was reaching out to the public in early December during our holiday period and looking for input for the scope of what the land use element should look like. It's a 20-year document that is an element of the general plan. There were 4 members of the public in attendance. 3 of them were active. I was one of them. There were more consultants and staff members than there were members of the public. The second meeting that I attended was in July of 2025, where the draft land use element was presented to the city council to move it into the next phase, which was an environmental impact review. The audience, there were 2 people. I was one of them, and there was a woman there who was there because I advertised the meeting on Facebook. There were 3 people on the telephone. This meeting was held at 3:00 on a Tuesday afternoon. This document is, first of all, it's an enormous document. It's either 260 or 280 pages. It is a 20-year plan. And over 2 city meetings, there were 9 members of the public that essentially attended. When I saw this and I started to understand what was in this land use element, I couldn't believe that the public was not engaged. So I met with MSPA. I met with the boards of Royal Canyon and Ross Moines, and we had several meetings to put together the town hall at St. Gregory's that was held on September the 20th. So there were 200 people in attendance. I like to say that when the public performs the public outreach, the public responds. And this is a major reason why I am running for council. Like I think I said earlier, I will be out talking to people. I have no political aspirations to move beyond Glendale. I'm not going to Sacramento. I don't want a county seat. All I want to do is to help make Glendale better. And the people are opposed, and the merchants are opposed to this. And again, the inverse consequence up in Montrose, this will put retailers out of business. Mr. Najarian has said the merchants up in Montrose need it. I've talked with all the merchants, not all of them, but a lot of them, and I've told them this is what Mr. Najarian has said. And they look at me with stunned faces. This corridor has been here since the 1930s. We don't need density. What we need up here is parking. And when they oppose it, I oppose it. When the people oppose it, I oppose it. So thank you, Pam. I appreciate the question.
Thank you, Patrick. Our last question is going to come from our Government Affairs Director, Mr. Asturian.
Certainly, and the question is about rent registry, and you know the story of it, that this association fought very hard back in 2021, 2022 and won the battle on that. Just want to know what your thoughts are, and specifically, where are you concerned with the privacy end of it? Because that is an issue for some of our board members.
So I'm opposed to a rent registry. The privacy is a big deal. I've been in the business over 40 years. I started out um, in with apartment buildings in the San Fernando Valley. I had a big green book and I was cold calling 7, 8 hours a day. That's going back to the 1980s. The rent registry is a privacy issue. It's an expense that's not necessary. However, I can say this, that if there are subsidies from government, perhaps that should be identified and to determine to make sure that those subsidies are being respected. Because that is something, those subsidies come from the people. And so the people should know whether those subsidies are being respected. But in terms of a rent registry, I'm opposed to it. I don't see any reason for it. We've been living with apartment buildings for a very long time without a rent registry. So this is an unneeded expense for ownership and an unneeded expense for the city because somebody's going to have to manage that. And we have a budget deficit, and our budget went from 840 million in 2020 to 1.3 billion in 2024. That's a 55% increase when inflation during the same period was 21%. Our population in 2020 was approximately 197,000 people. Today it's 188,000 people. So somebody tell me why the budget is more than 50% higher with less people. So I want to dig into that, but it's an unneeded expense and it is a violation, in my view, of privacy.
Fantastic. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for taking these questions. Now you have your 2 minutes of closing statement. We are all ears.
Well, I wasn't aware that there was going to be an opening and closing, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I'm extremely passionate about Glendale. Excuse me, I love it here, and I think that people are being shortchanged. They're not being listened to. The outreach when staff says we did this, we did that, we did the other thing. There's an old expression that the proof is in the pudding. And when 9 people show up over 2 city meetings for a land use element that's a 20-year document, okay, that's an epic failure of public outreach. By the way, that document calls for an additional 96,000 units over the next 20 years, which would house 260,000 plus people, 450,000 population. For context, the city of Los Angeles today has 8,300 people per square mile. If we put in 450,000 people in our city, that would be 14,500 people per square mile. This city, its name is the Jewel City, and that's missing now, I believe, and I've heard that over and over again from people. People want to go back to what Glendale was. Sure, we need progress. Sure, we need housing. We need ownership housing, and I would be a big proponent of working with Sacramento to help that along. So. I am, like I said, I'm very passionate. I have no desire to move on, and this is my way of giving back after a relatively successful career.
Patrick, thank you once again. We appreciate that you are present and you shared your views with us on these questions. And once again, on behalf of everyone here, one last thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to hearing from you. Bye-bye now.